Hey, this is Mike and Tom with the Muscle and Speed podcast. We're here to talk about our favorite car movies, TV shows, music, and workouts, wheeling, whatever else comes to our mind. We're going to be posting these up once a week. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at Muscle and Speed. We also have a website, www.muscleandspeed.com, where we'll eventually be selling some merch. Our goal here is to share our passion for all these things with the people who feel the same way. Oh, and we're back. How you feeling, man?
Fantastic.
All right.
How are you?
Not too bad.
I bet not.
Yeah, we had some good times in the gym yesterday.
We did. You did.
And today.
Uh-huh.
Went well. I'm getting to have a beer. Yeah, so the slingshot thing's been going well.
I should say so.
For the first time in my life, I put up 405 twice. Not once.
Not only once, but twice.
But twice. Now, to be fair, I did have the strongest slingshot they make on for that lift. But I still did it.
Yeah.
I'll take that all day long. Of course, the goal will be eventually to do it without it, but I think the message he's sending with that it gets you used to handling heavier weight and your body adjusts, that's been true so far. I've moved back into a position that I haven't been in 15 years almost.
It's been a while since we were there.
Very quickly, because we've only been lifting since March, and we took 5 weeks off in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So to be this far back, it makes me feel pretty good. And so the same is true for you on leg day, I would say. You're got to be pretty damn well right where you were. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I like to be done at about 1,000 pounds on the leg press machine. And we explained that last week, how we're coming up with those weights. If I'm wrong, I don't really care. I call it 1,000 pounds. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. You got to be really happy with your leg day. And we actually got workouts in on the proper days, so we got to do the proper amount of sets.
We just need Dominic to come and sit on the sled for us again, like the old days.
Well, we got to stay motivated, don't we?
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. You got to be willing to go and put the work in, and there needs to be a reason. Right. It's hard to stay motivated sometimes. And sometimes it's not hard. Sometimes it's awesome.
No, it was awesome, man.
Yeah.
Benching 4 plates.
It's already gotten old in the house, though. Julie and Jordan are over it.
I wasn't. I was happy for you.
Well, JT, all he said was, wow, the bar bent. And I told Jules this morning, I come up behind her, and I said, do you feel any different today? She goes, why? I said, now you're married to someone who has benched 405. She said no.
She's impressed.
She's never let me know it.
Right.
She's really good at not showing it. Yeah. But yeah, that was nice. It was nice to hit those numbers in the gym. And Julie is moving up on her deadlifts, and she's real proud of that. We talked about that last week, but Jordan's moving up. He's doing real well. Sometimes he gets a little frustrated. JT is probably the biggest ego lifter in the gym. Maybe it used to be
young
me.
Buck.
He's a young buck, and it's hard to get him to.
He's doing good.
To just be patient.
Yep.
You know, the weight's going to come. You just have to put the work in. But if you're just ugly wrong form trying to pick something up and drop it, you're not doing yourself any favors.
No.
You're just going to get hurt. And so we had to have a little session today where we discussed that with him and let him know, you can't do this. And we made him reduce the weight on down to something he could manage. And he wasn't very happy about it, but, who cares? He'll get over it.
Yep.
But he's been doing well. And I need to pay more attention to what he's doing, like set for set in the gym, because it feels like to me when I go over there and assist with a lift, or you do, he does way better than if he's by himself or lifting with Jules.
His mom.
Yeah. I don't know if he's trying harder. Is it a testosterone? What is it? I don't know. But oftentimes when he can't get a lift and I go over and say, bullshit, let's try that again, he gets it. And multiple reps. Right. And to me, that's mental, because if you go from I can't get it once to I just benched it 5 times, that's a mental thing. He just knows with me, I'm going to make him struggle under it. And I'm not pushing him that hard. I mean, these are things he can bench multiple times, and I talked to Jules about this, they're just not used to pushing like that strain, that little bit of extra.
Right.
That's what they're not used to. So getting them to do that is important, I think. I don't know. And then dieting properly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good beer.
Apparently we need to be eating broccoli with our beer. Is that what it was?
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
Asparagus?
So we just were watching an excerpt from one of Mark Bell's podcasts where he's talking to a guy, and I already forgot his name because that's how cool I am. Green. Yeah. Was it Justin Green?
Might have been.
Something like that. We'll call him Dr. Green, even if he's not a doctor.
Sounded like a doctor.
He did, and he laid down some knowledge. So he was breaking down like what alcohol turns into in your body and how it interacts with food, and how you can moderately drink and have it not hurt your workouts or your workout gains. And he specifically mentioned fish and asparagus or broccoli.
God, that's right.
Yeah.
We got to exploit that.
We do, because he said something to the effect of, if you're eating cod, it's good lean protein, and it's an anti-inflammatory,
That's what it was.
where alcohol is an inflammatory. So it'll reduce those effects, and then the broccoli or asparagus will speed up your metabolism and help you process it better. And then he said to pop an emergency before or after, and that'll take care of your B and C vitamins that you tend to lose drinking. And there you go. You hacked the whole alcohol equation. I hate it when they use the term hack, because I think that's stupid. But because that's not hacking anything.
Should
but
we say it helped the alcohol situation?
it sure did. It gives you a roadmap on how to do that while you're trying to diet or exercise and have it not destroy everything. So of naturally having...
Or we could just not drink.
Well, naturally then, we took that knowledge and ate a big bowl of beef stew, had some corn, and you're drinking beer. Yeah, because we know what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'd be interested in trying that.
Oh, we have to.
Yeah. We got to test that one out.
Yeah.
And I'll call bullshit if it is. If not, then I'll admit that Dr. Green is a doctor.
Yeah.
If he is. Why not, eh? Why not?
Well, he said we can drink and still do it.
Right.
So.
Right. So I got to say, since we've been back and we've gotten these slingshots, and obviously that counts for something in those lifts, but getting 315 on incline and then 405 flat,
That's huge.
I'm pretty freaking happy.
Yeah.
I would love to say I could. I'd love it if I had good news for squats and deadlifts, but I don't. I've been talking about reincorporating deadlifts into our workouts, but as we talked about earlier, my back feels so good these days, and when I was doing it, it hurt all week long.
Yep.
Maybe it didn't hurt that bad, or maybe it hurt a lot.
Same thing.
Right. So I don't know that it's worth it.
No.
At this stage of our lives. I was listening to two guys talk about their kids playing sports, and they were talking about how, in football there's the obvious concussion issues and, joint issues. But then they talked about basketball. A lot of parents turn to basketball and push their kids in that direction. He goes, but, if you ever do make it and you play through an NBA career, you're going to be hobbling around like an 80-year-old man when you're 45 because it destroys your knees and your back. It just does.
Yeah.
For the same reason that Hulk Hogan's had 9 back surgeries. You can't drop all your weight like
on your ass.
You can't do that over
What do you
and
call
over
that?
and over again.
What was his move called?
The leg drop.
Leg drop.
Yeah.
That's what he always did.
Mm-hmm. That's what he said was dumb. I mean, he had the biggest arms in wrestling, supposedly, and his finisher was a leg drop.
Ugh.
It should have been some sort of crazy clothesline or...
Right.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
It wasn't, and he did what he did. Yeah. And then, what were we watching? We watched, what was it, Larry Wheels and the Mountain face off with some various lifts. That was pretty cool. The Mountain, when he did that strict 440 overhead, that was a PR for him. That's why he was so pumped when that went up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And Larry didn't get it, but he was able to bounce it up, which was pretty cool, too. I mean, because, of course, and I can't help. I look at the comments, and I know better to look at the comments because they're so retarded. But because you get the little guys on there who, I can't help also but look at their profile, and I know it's really not worth anybody's time, but when they're like, yeah, but Larry Wheels only weighs 275 pounds, the mount was 400. Imagine what he could lift if he weighed 400 pounds. Well, I got news for you, Sunshine. Thor is one of the strongest men in the world, period.
Yeah.
So I don't care what you weigh. If Larry could put on 100 pounds and double the weight, you bet your ass he'd do it. It's just genetics does play a role, and there's a reason why strongmen are the size they are. Because if you want to lift what they lift and do what they do, especially over the course of all the things that they do, you kind of have to be that size.
Yep.
You need that body size to carry that weight and to be able to lift and move those things. One of the things that Mark Bell, when we first started paying attention to him, in his super training vids, what did he say? Like, if you want to get a little stronger, the first thing you do is put on some weight.
Well.
If you want to be a power lifter, I mean, yeah, there's guys who are shredded, but they're also huge.
Yep.
I mean, there's some anomalies. Dr. Deadlift, he's kind of lean. But if you really look at him, he has massive lats. He's got huge legs. He's tall, but he's still a decent sized guy. That's a little bit misleading when you look at him, because he is very lean, but he's very strong as well. Yeah. Oh, and that was the other thing. Watching him on his Instagram, he was talking about the Captains of Crush, which we have too. That he just
shot the 2.5s.
Just the 2.5s. I'm a little surprised at that, to be honest.
For how much he deadlifts.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's using the hook grip, but I don't know. When I see pros, I just expect more.
Well.
I think we get a little spoiled watching Titan.
Mm-hmm.
Mike O'Hearn is a freak of nature. All natty.
Crazy ever.
Natty. If you don't believe it, prove it. Yeah, whatever. But, and I don't know. I mean, I bring that up, and maybe Titan or Mike O'Hearn, maybe he can only do the 2s or 2.5s. I have a feeling that's not the case, but I'll look after this and see if there's a video out there of him with the Captains of Crush and see if he's got certified on
I
any
think
of them.
Dominic shot the 2.5s. If he hasn't, they're super close.
If he has and he's close, he's a big kid with big hands, and he works for a living. What's what we were talking about with Kyle? What's the difference between nowadays and back in the day? Back in the day, there were a lot more factory menial labor. Not menial. I don't want to say it that. It's not menial labor. What it was working with your hands.
Yeah.
Robotics took over a lot of that. Because back in the day, if you worked for GM or Ford or Dodge, those assemblers used to carry parts over to the assembly line to assemble. Now it's all done via robotics, and there's very little of manual labor involved. I mean, there's still guys there supervising, and the jobs became a bit more technical. But back in the day, you had thousands of men working in those factories every day doing that. You had thousands of men mining, working every day. And even in that profession, mining isn't nearly as manual labor-wise as it used to be.
Right.
And I would say logging is the same, right?
Absolutely.
But there are still jobs out there, and there are still men who do that. And those men have grips like they used to.
Nope. Bricklayers.
Yeah. And I should know because as an IT guy, we're known for our grip strength, right?
Yeah.
I got, like I said, baby soft hands.
Oh, come on.
I can close the twos. But not the 2.5s or the 3s. It's funny, though. As I was telling my sister, of course, I don't care, anybody rolls their eyes at it or not. I benched 405, I'm going to tell the world. So I just tell my oldest sister that I did it, and she's like, well, that's awesome. What are you going to do next? And I was like, 500. Which my son found quite humorous. He's like, well, you're probably going to run out of time.
Wow.
Working your way towards that.
Ouch.
Yeah. It was about the same reaction as if I ask him if my hair's growing back nice and full.
Yeah.
No, Dad. No. What I did, though, is I told him I set the bar for him. If he ever wants to claim he is stronger than his old man,
Well,
you got some work to do.
Wheaties kid.
Yeah. Not saying he can't, and I'd love it if he did, but but we just moved the bar up on him.
Could.
Oh, he could.
Just gotta put the time in.
He could. I mean, he's got my genetics. He's my kid, and that's not to say that I have any kind of great genetics. It's just it's just if I can do it, yeah, he should be able to. Yeah, that's awesome though.
It was.
We had a good week.
Yeah.
Good week in general.
It looked good from where I was watching you bench that.
Couldn't have got it without you, man. Well, no, it's true. I mean, to know that you have a spotter that can get you, that does make a big difference. We used to say it's you try harder if you don't have a spotter because you know you're going to get stuck. But to me, that's not true because part of the lift is being able to relax. If you're not mentally worried about anything, when you're bringing that weight down and starting to come back up with it, it makes a difference in the lift. And for 405 in particular, or in heavier weight, being smooth is almost as important as being strong. You don't want a clunky lift. You've got to be smooth.
Right.
And you called it before I even tried it. It was like, ooh, it's nice and warm in here. We're nice and loose. Everything's going well. Maybe this is the day. Yeah. It was. So that was awesome. Yeah. Enough of that. I'll stop patting myself on the back. I'll ask Julie to do it later.
Better do it now.
Yeah. I believe she told me later that I was driving her crazy.
All right.
Maybe she said a little more colorful than that. But something to that effect. Yeah, but so what else do you want to talk about?
Still didn't fix your car.
No, Cutlass is
Still
still in
didn't
the
fix my car.
driveway. Let's talk a little bit about our cars. So mine's a 72 Cutlass. It's got a late 70s 403, probably out of a Trans Am or something. That's where most of those 403s come from. A lot of people, and we talked about this, the 403 that was in a TA was based off of an Olds in the late 70s. Because Pontiac had made a 400, and then they adapted an Olds 403 to the Trans Am after that. But yeah, it's a good running engine. It's got a short in the wiring, I think, somewhere, and it won't charge the battery. So if you want to drive it, you got to jump it. But if you jump it, it runs fantastic, it sounds fantastic, and go wherever you want until you shut it off again. and then you're done. Yeah, it's a turbo 350. It shifts well. The interior is fantastic. It's got the saddle, the dark brown interior. We'll call it leather, but we all know it's vinyl. Leather looking. Yeah, it's a good car. The brakes are a little iffy, but you can look at the front rotors and tell that it it probably needs new rotors and pads. There's a pretty big gouge in the passenger side rotor on the front.
Is there? I didn't notice that.
Nice and even all the way around.
Oh.
Probably a screw in the
groove.
Yeah. Someone was committed.
Yeah.
It wasn't me. Yeah, you know what? When I went and got that car, we went down to, it was just south of Grand Rapids. We went and picked it up, and I drove it. I took it for a test drive while I was there. You know, one of those crazy scenarios. You know, I got money here from the bank, drove all the way to Grand Rapids, and I had the check in hand, and I had never seen the car other than the internet. Never heard it run, nothing. So I'd been talking to these people online, and we worked out a deal. I drove down there and I test drove it while we were all standing there, and loved it. It started right up, went down. So we drove it from just south of Grand Rapids all the way back to Gaylord, which was like a 3-hour drive, and it ran great. The gas gauge was working, and that doesn't now, by the way. And so I was wondering if something happened while I was driving it, if something was close to happening and finally let go or whatever while I was driving it back up 75, because about 3/4 of the way there, I noticed the headlights were flickering a little bit, and my brother-in-law, who was following me in my truck, said that the brake lights were working sometimes and not working, which speaks to a short.
Yep.
And so it's something I haven't figured out since we got it back. I got pulled over by the state cops once. I got some cool pictures of this stuff. I'll put it back up. I'll put it up tonight probably or something, or tomorrow. But state trooper was really cool. I had everything in order. I already had insurance on it. I had all the documentation, and so he just asked me a little bit about the car. Said it was cool. You know, the normal conversation. You never see these on the road anymore. You know, kind of thing.
No.
But and he
Why did he pull you over?
way.
Were you speeding?
No, I wasn't.
Was it the brake? Something?
I didn't have plates.
Oh, you're okay. That's what it was. You just got it.
Yeah. So I had the title signed over to me, and I had my copy of my insurance. And he actually told me he was impressed that I had a copy of insurance. He goes, most guys don't do that. And he explained to me the laws of, you have 3 days to title the car and get, registration and plates once you purchase something. So I don't know. It was pretty cool. But yeah, we got it up to Gaylord, and then I had to ride out the rest of that winter, and I went down with a U-Haul trailer after that and
I remember that.
picked it up. But I have pictures of all of that, so I will. I'll have to put those up. But it's a cool car, and my son wants it really bad.
I'm pretty sure he already thinks it's his.
He does. He does think it's his. We'll see on that one. He's got to remain as he has been. He needs to remain being a good kid and getting good grades and
Motivation.
yeah.
Perfect.
He's got to do good things if he wants that car. But yeah, I really would love to get that thing to a point where I could drive it a lot more and comfortably and confidently. I'd love to fix the AC in it. It's a factory AC car. Everything is there except the compressor. I'd love to get a new compressor for it, and hook it all back up and figure out this short and get it all working. Because I think it'd be fine once you did. Like I said, when I test drove it down south of Grand Rapids, everything worked. Everything worked fine. That was the reason why I was like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah, it won't be much.
So if I can get that fixed, I'd be pretty happy. I got to get rid of those aluminum wheels that are on there. I don't like them. Got to get rid of those. Get something a little beefier, a little cooler, and I don't know. I might get a 442 hood. We'll see. I might not.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah. But other than that, just drive it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it while it runs, right?
For sure.
Yeah. And then, how about your car?
Still the same old 69 Mach 1.
What year did you buy that? How long have you had that sucker?
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Around...
I got the 68 Mustang that I had in 2001. And you got your car like...
Right after? Year after?
Not even. I think it was like 6 months after.
So 01 or 02.
Yeah.
Wow.
You've had it since then. And for a while, you kind of just... You drove it as it was.
Yep.
Like for a few summers. And then when I sold my 68, it was like right after that, you put yours in the shop.
That was in the shop for...
A long time.
4 years?
Yeah.
3 or 4 years?
3 or 4 years.
I think I went right through it. Just worked out when he had time.
Yeah.
Very talented dude.
Very talented guy.
Wasn't going to pay him for full-time work and just weekends, evenings, whenever he had time.
Right. And he did a great job. And then you got the factory-style Magnum 500s.
Yep.
You put those on there. You still have the other rim and tire,
Oh, yeah.
right? The old
Yep.
GT.
The
Yeah.
GT.
Yep. So that's cool. And it's a 351 4-speed.
Windsor. Yep.
That's pretty awesome. And you have a charging issue as well, but yours is known, right?
That's got to be just the alternator.
Yeah.
I have a new one on the shelf.
Just got to put it in.
Yep.
And anything else you're going to do to it?
Well, there's always stuff. Dominic wants to put a different engine in it.
Yeah.
Rebuild the transmission.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Fun stuff. Building a motor for it would be fun.
That would be fun. I have a Cleveland all prepped, ready to go.
Yeah. Could throw a Cleveland in there. After looking at what Freiberger and Dulcich on Roadkill Garage, they built a Cleveland for a project they have. And of course, you know, when those guys do it, they have a pretty big budget for that stuff. But 658 horsepower, naturally aspirated.
Wow.
It's like, holy crap. I was waiting because Kibbe and Finnegan, Finnegan's also on Roadkill. And these guys, of course, that's all they talk about is building cars and drag racing and getting other cars. I think Freiberger right now owns 21 cars. Or 22 cars, something like that.
Wow.
Now, most of them are somewhere between junk and drivable. You know, he's got a few that are really nice, and then most of them also again that are left are in between that. They're drivers that function, but they're not big on painting things. They're not big on finishing it up.
My kind of guy.
Yeah. Well, and they do that because they don't want to beat up a $20,000 paint job, or
Right.
they want to drive the piss out of it and enjoy it, which is awesome. But yeah, it was funny though because they were talking about that, and a guy had messaged in and he was asking if he should put a 5.7 liter Hemi, one of the new Gen 3 Hemis, in a Fox Body Mustang. And Finnegan fabricates stuff, and if you go on his YouTube channel, Finnegan's Garage, he's got a lot of videos up of stuff that he does at his house, essentially. But you know, he was like, yeah, you know, 5.7 Hemi's not that big of an engine. It'll fit. He said, actually, it'll fit better than a Coyote would, because Coyotes are pretty big, that 90-degree V.
The angle of the...
Yeah, it makes it a pretty big engine. But then they got into talking about, you know, it'd be kind of funny if you did it because you'll piss off the Dodge guys and you'll piss off the Ford guys. And his co-host was talking, you know, about that, and he said that was his reaction the first time he saw someone put an LS in a Fox-bodied Mustang. And Finnegan, of course, to ratchet it up, then goes, and it really, if you think about it, that doesn't make sense. And he's like, why? And they just had a long discussion about how not many cars or engine combos sound better than a small block Ford and a set of Flowmasters. Just whatever it is in the timing and the firing order and the way that engine sounds, you throw Flowmasters on there, and that sounds better than just about anything. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, Finnegan has a 592 big block, 426 Hemi, 426 base Hemi, original Hemi. Yeah, he's got some pretty cool stuff. So for him to actually say that, for him to say that is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
But that's what he said. He goes, the LS is a great engine. He goes, but a small block Ford is, he goes, they're just as good, pretty much. Or he said almost as good, or whatever he said. But he's like, I don't understand that. He goes, it's not really worth it. You go through all that conversion. He goes, unless you're a Chevy guy and you just don't want to run a Camaro, like, it doesn't make sense, because you can build a 302 or a 351 Windsor, to be as good as anything. And I was thinking about that because in drag racing and stuff, in autocross, and just whenever anybody's building a car, a lot of people will put a Chevy drivetrain in something. And maybe that's just because it's what they have or it's what's available, but that's kind of something that they've been bringing up more and more, is that the Ford engines actually run really well. I mean, everybody knows Hemis make big power.
Yeah.
Dodge has done a great job from the factory of showing everyone that Hemis make big power. Usually boosted these days, but even back in the day, they were good about that. The legend of the 426 Hemi is built a lot on their advertising. Because when you go back and look at the stats and the specs, the top shelf 454 Chevy and 428 or 429 Fords were right there with it, power-wise and every other-wise. So a lot of that, of course, becomes marketing and legend, right?
Yeah.
But, they've been talking a lot about that now. Just that building a big block Ford for your Ford might be the new thing, as strange as that sounds.
Let's look.
Because for a while it was like, if you're going to build a car, put a big block Chevy in it, or a small block Chevy in it, and build that. But if that's what you have, that's fine. But what they're saying basically is you wouldn't seek it out if you have a good running Ford or Dodge for your Dodge, because it doesn't. You're not going to get a benefit from that.
Parts, that's probably what a lot of it is.
It could be.
So many 350s out there.
It could be, and that's, the 302 and the 351 Windsor were in F-Series trucks.
Yeah.
And how many are those? There's a ton of them out there. Number one seller for how many? Since
Forever.
Forever? Since they built trucks? Yeah, it's pretty nuts. But yeah, I want to, I'd love to get those cars out before we run out of good weather.
Color tour.
Color tour something.
Right up north or something.
Yeah. Get them out and drive them around a little bit. Should dust off the Challenger. I haven't driven that in a few days. I've been driving my truck for whatever reason lately. I should get the Chally out. We'll run around.
Yep.
Run through the gears. Listen to some rock and roll. Peanut butter and jelly. Muscle cars and rock and roll. It's just good for you. Did you watch Street Outlaws this week?
I was just going to ask you. No, I didn't.
No. It was the last list race of the season. In short, not a lot changed. Chief is number one. And really nothing happened. This tomorrow night they're going to do grudge racing. So the season's not officially over, but they're done doing the list races. And so now they're going to do some grudge racing, which is just my car versus your car and how much money you want to put up. Grudge racing on the street is usually a little sketchier because you're not going to know the other guy or his vehicle. And so it's kind of a sight unseen. He could have 1,500 horsepower to your 500, and you think he's got a regular Camaro, but it's really a blown big block with, cheater nitrous kits and things like that. But it'll be a little different, of course, on Street Outlaws because they all know each other's rides. So
yeah, they all know the cars.
Yeah.
Remember that show Pinks?
Yes.
That was like that.
Those guys were on there.
Were they?
One of their biggest introductions or whatever got them on people's radar was Daddy Dave was driving a Mustang. I think it was owned by Chuck, or it was owned by Murder Nova. And he won. They won on Pinks when they were on there.
Huh.
And that's kind of Daddy Dave's reputation, that he can drive anything and be one of the best ever behind the wheel of that vehicle on that day. He's
Good wheel man.
He's a good wheel man. Yeah, they were on Pinks and won, but I loved Pinks.
Yeah, so did I.
I'd still watch
Watch it
Pinks if
all
it was
the
on. I think that what happened though is like a lot of things. It's just like drag racing in general. Once guys figure out the rules, they start trying to cheat and skirt around it, and that sucks. That's why those sanctioning bodies end up heavily regulating everything, because you get too many guys that are just trying to skirt around everything. Mm-hmm. And on Pinks you could negotiate car lengths. You could do lots of things on Pinks that just wouldn't happen in a sanctioned race under anybody else. So,
but you're still putting up your car.
You're still putting up your ride. Or at the end they'd win those massive toolkits too, like giant snap-on toolkit. Those massive tool chests that take up a whole wall. That was pretty cool. No, I like Pink's. The arm drop. That was pretty cool. And there was a show that was on after. It was like Jeopardy for drag racing. Did you ever see that? I think it was called Fastest Pass or something like that. Fast Pass.
That rings a bell.
Yeah, you had that guy that he had like a goatee, and you'd have 3 contestants, and they'd bring up 2 cars, and you have to guess what times they were going to run.
That's right. Yep.
So they could ask.
See that. Yep.
Yeah, they could ask like 3 questions, know a little bit about the car, and then see who was closest to getting it. I like that too. Because knowledgeable drag racers can do that. If you tell them, even if you don't give them like power and weight of the vehicle, they know the vehicle, and you tell them the cubic inches you have, they can get pretty close.
Yeah.
And that's like any other kind of racing. It takes money. The more you got, the faster you'll be. Within reason. If you drive like me, probably not, but with a pro, that's certainly the case. Yeah, I liked Pinks.
That was some good shows.
Yeah, I mean, it was more of the drama, fighting back and forth. The he said, she said, the bickering. It gets old. I think that's why, if there's, honestly, if Discovery's smart, what I would do in the next season is split it up. Do like a couple list races, then let them race out of towners, because it's better when they race out of towners because you don't get the bitching. They're still bitching, but it's not this made-up fake crap that is made-up fake crap. It's more of them arguing about, lane choice or who's racing who. That I can totally get down with. That makes sense. But, yeah, some of this stuff is just ridiculous. But, yeah. They were talking about that, too, on Kibby and Finnegan's podcast. They were talking about the made-up drama for TV. And how that gets a little old. They're like, if somebody could learn to do it a little bit different, they'd probably have a really good show.
For sure.
They're talking about this. Every show that builds a car or builds a bike, what do? It's coming down to the wire.
Yeah.
If we don't make it, we might have to shut the doors for good.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, every time, every build. Come on. And of course, they're making fun of Richard Rollins because Finnegan doesn't like him. Which, I can understand why you wouldn't, but at the same time, he's a marketing guy. He makes no bones. He was a fireman and a police officer, and he started a marketing agency that went really well, and he sold it for millions of dollars and started Gas Monkey Garage. He's a smart dude.
Yeah.
And he makes money now. What does he do? What is he good at? He monetizes his name. and his business. That's why they're so successful. Beyond the fact that they do build cool shit, he is a businessman. And especially good at marketing.
Yeah, he's done well for himself.
And working that, that stuff. And of course the TV show helped a ton.
Yep.
But even to that effect, what did he do when he got the TV show? He put Gas Monkey everywhere.
Yep.
He's got
shirts, booze.
Shirts are in Walmart.
Yeah.
If your shirts hit Walmart, for those who are like, oh, he's a sellout. No, he's rich. You got a major chain carrying your stuff, selling it for $9.99 or whatever it is. You've made it, man.
Yep.
And I don't blame him for that either.
No.
I wouldn't do the bedazzled jeans, and I wouldn't wear so much jewelry.
Right.
Maybe I would. I don't think I would, though.
With that kind of money, it wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter. On his Instagram, it just showing he was in the Maldives on a beach.
Huh.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Looked like he was having a good time.
I'm sure he was. Did he look lonely?
He was the only one in any of his shots. He's very careful. He very rarely shows his wife.
Oh, he's married?
Yeah, he's married. And he's been married to her for a long time. Every once in a while, you'll see her. When he went to Pebble Beach, when he bought that, like, $150,000 Duesenberg, whatever the hell it was, or $500,000, whatever it was. He spent a ton of money on this perfectly restored car, and he wanted to go to Pebble Beach and win. But you got pissed when he didn't. He placed like 4th or 5th or something, or maybe it was even lower than that. But his buddy Dennis told him that he learned a good lesson about what it takes to actually do well at Pebble Beach. But when he went there, he rented a mansion for the week, him and Dennis. And he brought his wife, and that was like one of the only times you see her on the show. Yeah, but do you remember when he had his nephew on there?
Yeah.
For a very little, what a dud, hey? Man, he was a little bit of a dud, wasn't he? And you could tell Richard was like doing that to his sister. See, and there you go. Like, he knew what his nephew was. He knew what was up. He knew what was going to happen, but his sister asked him, and so he went there. He brought him in. He was on the TV show. He tried it out.
Yep.
What he knew was going to happen happened, and he was off the show.
Yep.
That's hard, man. Hard to get kids to work these days.
It is. It is.
Get out there and get to work. I don't know. For me, I'm just trying to dangle things out in front. Something shiny. You want this? This is what you got to do.
Go get it.
Yep. You want to go here? This is what you got to do.
That's the way to do it.
Buy him nice things, then take it away from him. You want it back? That's what you got to do. Heck yeah, man. And then I watched Leno. He had Captain America on there.
Yeah.
So when they were filming one of the Avengers movies, Robert Downey Jr., who apparently is a car guy and knows a lot about cars, gifted Chris Evans, who apparently has had like a Honda Prelude and then like a Jeep Cherokee. He gifted him a professionally built, and I'm trying to remember what shop it was. It's not coming back to me, but he had a professionally built '67 Camaro SS, but it has a new LS with a Whipple in it, 750 horsepower.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean it's an amazing car. Interior, everything's custom. The wheels are custom, the color's custom. There's custom body work, and the interior is completely custom. 750 horsepower. So Jay invited him out. And in true movie star fashion, they helicoptered him into Willow Springs, which I didn't know if that was for the show or if that was necessary. Might have been. He might have been filming somewhere. Who knows? But he gets there, and Jay had a stuntman who's worked with Chris Evans in the past bring a new, it was a 2017 Camaro SS, 455 horsepower. And they drove it around Big Willow a bunch of times to teach him how to drive a car like that. It was pretty cool.
That is.
And he struggled mightily.
Really?
Yeah, he was struggling. At least he did know how to drive his stick, which was cool, because it was a manual. His car is an automatic that Robert Downey had made for him, but the car they brought was a 6-speed, and the stuntman took him around a few times, and then they did like 10 or 12 laps together where he was telling him, hard on the brakes here, hard left, hard right. So he kind of walked him through the course through several laps, and then Jay got in, and he went for it. And he actually did really well. He had some nice power slides and really boogied that thing around the track, and then when they parked it, he got back in his and did a massive burnout as he was leaving. And Jay showed Jay with tears down his eyes going, they grow up so fast. And that's why I like that show. Because stuff like that's cool. But yeah, apparently he just showed up one day with it. Chris said he had no idea that Downey Jr.'s like, hey, what do you think of that car? What do you think of that car? What do you think of, pointing stuff out to him. And just through conversation, he worked out what he wanted to make. And you get the 67 Camaro with this custom color and these custom wheels, and he put like this distressed brown leather and like tan leather interior, like head to toe, suede on the top. It's just like,
Wow.
Yeah, it's really nice. That had to cost a lot.
Yep.
Now,
You know it.
I think he was getting $20 million a picture.
Uh-huh.
So I'm sure it was fine. Even after the tax man came, he's doing okay. But
Big bucks.
yeah, that was pretty cool.
Speaking of money, what's Aaron Rodgers getting like? Was it working out like $2 million a game now or something?
104 million
104
guaranteed.
million?
Yeah. It makes that Stafford contract now seem so outrageous.
No.
There's now there's 4 guys paid more than him.
I think it works out to like $2 million a game now.
Did you see what the Bears just paid for Khalil Mack?
Yeah.
Woo!
94.
Woo!
Is it?
Did you see?
Got him. But
Did you see the reaction of his teammates?
no.
The team, no one knew this was going down. They knew it was possible. Derek Carr and all those guys.
Yeah.
Like their posts were like, "You've got to be kidding me! This is bullshit." That sort of thing. Were their posts. We had a little bit of dissension on that team over this trade.
Uh-oh.
That's what happens, man. It's a business, but the Raiders couldn't have worked something out there. Obviously, something happened between either Gruden and Khalil Mack or the owner.
Yeah.
That owner's kind of
Chucky won't want to lose him.
yeah. That owner's kind of a dork too. Got that bowl cut. The weird dude.
The Raiders owner?
Yeah.
Is it a Davis?
Yeah. He's a weird guy. Yeah. I don't know, but the Bears picked up a really good player, and if Trubisky, what's his name? The quarterback of the Bears? Matt Trubisky or
Yeah.
Trubisky?
It's something like that.
If he's as good as they're saying, now with the they had a pretty decent defense. You had Khalil Mack, and if he plays to his level, that could shake things up. The Lions may drop another spot in the North.
No way. This is our year.
It's never going to happen.
Uh-uh.
Well, we got the Jets on Monday night next week, so we'll see. They managed to get their butts kicked by Cleveland on Thursday, so I'm glad the preseason's over because it's stupid anyway.
Yeah.
What do you think of Jerry Jones's idea?
I didn't hear about it.
He wants to. The next collective bargaining agreement is in 2020 or 2021. He wants 18 game regular season, 2 games of preseason. He said that'll generate, I forget, I think he said $1 billion of an extra revenue,
I'm sure it was.
of which the players will get a decent percentage of, and everyone will make a ton more money. They floated that last time, and the players said no. Because of the beating that they take in the 16-game season, they're not ready to go 18. But they're talking about the CFL and some other leagues do an 18-game season, so it's not unprecedented.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They
What do you
should.
think? I say, why not? It'll
Don't
alleviate.
make preseason, just scrimmage.
Right,
They don't scrimmage other teams.
right. They scrimmage the team they play all week long,
Yeah.
and then they play them for TV. And the stadiums are mostly empty, and people get hurt for a meaningless game. And what's the point?
Right.
I've never liked the preseason. But I don't know. I would think that's a good deal, but we'll see. We'll see if they go for it. Money talks, right? It's all about the percentage.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. You know, I think the Lions got a pretty tough road to hoe. They finished the problem was it's a problem. They finished ahead of Green Bay. And so they got the tougher schedule that Green Bay would have had they been flip-flopped. And so Green Bay has not an easy schedule, but an easier schedule. And Detroit's is much tougher, finishing second in their division. So, you know, but we've talked about this before. If you ever want to grow up to being a big boy, if you ever want to be a good football team, you can't be afraid of that.
No.
You know, you think the Patriots are worried about having one of the tougher schedules in football every year? No. Pittsburgh, they're not worried about it. Seahawks, they're not worried. They're going to do what they do. You know, and Detroit went 5-1 in conference last year. They beat Chicago twice, they beat Minnesota twice, and they split with Green Bay. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. That is.
If they can build on that, and, you know, some people feel like Matt Patricia's played things pretty close to the vest even through the preseason, that their packages were really basic and he was just feeling guys out, and it wasn't a good inclination or a good representation of what's going to happen once it's live and they're in the games and the personnel units together. That's going to look a little different and they should be better. We'll see. You know, any team could say that.
No.
But I don't know. I think Stafford with LeGarrette Blount and those other offensive weapons, if that line is halfway decent, they should score a lot of points, I would think.
They're going to.
They're going to. Their defense looks shitty, and I don't know what's going to change that. Khalil Mack would have helped.
Yes.
Or maybe he wouldn't. I don't know. You look at the two different ways they went about it. Odell Beckham Jr. was without a contract too, right? Except he played. He showed up first day of practice and he goes, my agent is paid to take care of that. He goes, I'm going to play football.
Yep.
Khalil Mack said, pay me or I ain't showing up. And he got dealt. Odell is the highest paid receiver in football now. And he's quite happy in New York.
Yep.
Take that for what it's worth, but if I had my druthers, I'd rather have the guy who showed up to play and let his agent work it out.
Exactly.
You know?
Yep.
So there's some of that too. Oh well. And then Michigan played yesterday.
Wolf.
Big rivalry game, Notre Dame. They haven't played them in a while. Not
So
very good.
4-game losing streak now?
4 since last year. You lost to Wisconsin, Ohio State,
The bowl game.
and then the bowl game to South Carolina, which was a huge upset, and then they lost to Notre Dame. So that's two of your biggest current rivals, because Notre Dame's not really a rival anymore. That's an anomaly of a game because Notre Dame left our deal. So, you know, at the time we made fun of them because we were like, you left because you're tired of getting your ass kicked. But, you know.
Uh-oh.
And they sucked.
Yep.
So, you know, and to be fair, I didn't watch the game. I went and I watched the highlights, but I had read a report on Yahoo Sports previous to watching the highlights that was just basically lambasted the team. They sucked. They got beat up on both sides of the ball. You know, to me, it made it sound like it was like 35-3. So when you see it was 24-17 and Michigan had the ball at the end of the game and were driving up until their quarterback was sacked and he fumbled with like 40 seconds to go or whatever it was, that ended the game effectively. That tells me they had a chance to win with a fairly even ranked team. I think, in fact, Notre Dame was 12th and Michigan was 14th going into the game. So, is it that bad? Well, it is if you're a Michigan fan, and you know, in college football, if you want to be in the top 5 at the end of the year, you need to be damn near undefeated.
Exactly.
So, and the writer did, after all the hyperbole and nonsense that he put in his article, the very end, he's like, well, you know, it is just one loss, and they have plenty of chances to turn it around this season. Well, okay. So what was the point of what you wrote before this? It's just to get
Wow.
clicks. But for all the money they're paying Harbaugh,
Yep.
not
You better
looking
turn that around.
he better turn it around fast. They did lose their starting quarterback in the offseason, which again you have to say why. Why'd you go?
You don't
Why-
want to play for Harbaugh.
Yeah, why'd you go to UCLA? You're at Michigan,
Yeah.
and you're playing for Harbaugh. I mean, that's supposed to mean something. You know, a lot of guys who play for Michigan play in the NFL. You know, and they are a supposed to be a better program than UCLA. So why would you leave? But
We'll see.
we'll see. I don't know, man. I just want to drive. I need to go for a drive. I told Julie that this morning. I was like, we don't have to work tomorrow. I was like, I think I'm going to get up in the morning and just go for a drive. I'm going to get up at like 7:30, drink some coffee, go get in the car and go for a ride.
Nice. Do
I
it.
think I'm going to do that.
Right on.
Listen to some music and just cruise around for a while. Put some miles on that car. It's too new.
I like that plan.
Yeah. Would be good. I don't know. You want to call it? I think I've run out of things to say.
My beer's empty.
Yeah, my beer's empty. We should go see if there's more. I bet there is.
I think Julie has more stew out there too.
All right. We're out of here.